Thank you everyone for coming out tonight. Looks like we've got people hanging out with their friends and their family, got their glasses all set. I'm going to go ahead and turn it right over to Cindy Haiken, our Reader's Advisory Librarian, who's going to be the master of ceremonies tonight. Mistress of ceremonies.
Mistress, yes. Hi, everyone. I see some of the returning lushes from our earlier book and booze pairing events. Happy to see you again. I think this is, if I'm remembering, Leah and Brenda, the fourth event that we've done like this. We did wines, which now seems so basic. And then we did bourbon. And then we did summer cocktails. And now, in honor of the holiday season, we are doing sparkling wines. And I am, you can't really tell, but I am all gussied up. I vaguely remembered how to put on makeup. This is very exciting. I got permission to do this from home so I could drink. And what we're going to do is I'm going to turn it over. I think Brenda, are you going to participate? Are you just going to be hovering, or are you going to?
I'm more of a hoverer tonight. I'm going to let the expert talk.
Okay, we've got a sparkling wine expert in Doug Macleod, who's going to take us through each of the 6 sparkling wines that Brenda put together in those wonderful kits that caused my husband's eyebrows to go up when I brought the kit home yesterday, and he looked at the size of the bottles. And as usual, I've come up, this one, as I told Brenda and Leah, was the most challenging book pairing I've done to date. You'll probably see why when we go through the books, but I'm mostly keeping with the theme that these are effervescent and happy making drinks that we're going to be talking about, and you'll see why as we go. So Doug will talk about one, and then I'll talk about a book, and we'll go back and forth like that. And everyone should please feel free to ask questions and make comments, and especially if you're drinking one or all of the 6, to express opinions and taste comparisons and so forth and so on. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay. So Doug, over to you.
Thank you, Cindy. Thanks, Leah. Thank you, Brenda, and thank everybody for joining us. Tonight. My name is Doug Macleod. I am the Connecticut manager for a company that imports a number of sparkling wines. In fact, Fresnet Mianetto is the #1 importer of sparkling wine, which includes champagne, cava, California sparkling wine, Prosecco, Sekt from Germany. Who knew there were so many different sparkling wines? But in fact, everybody knows that sparkling wine has bubbles. The one thing that tends to kind of trip everyone up, experts included, is what the difference is between champagne and sparkling wine. And Brenda will be able to talk in a little bit about the Laurent Perrier, which is an excellent champagne. Champagne comes from France, and Prosecco comes from Italy, and Cava comes from Spain. But that's not really the only differences. The differences are in the taste, and the taste is informed by how the wines are produced. The first wine that we're going to taste tonight is the #1 selling Prosecco in the world. And the reason why that's important is because the most important thing about Prosecco is freshness. Again, comparing champagne to Prosecco, they both have bubbles. They are both sparkling wines. However, champagne and the champagne method all happens in the bottle. Champagne is going to be made from Chardonnay and Pinot Noir in the hills north of Paris. Prosecco is made from a different grape. It's made from the Glera grape, which goes back to Roman times. It's only produced one place on the planet, which is just north of Venice in northern Italy. And the difference between Prosecco and champagne is that champagne can age for 15 or 20 years in the bottle, laid down, stored correctly. Normally it's a vintage. It's also produced in non-vintages. Prosecco is meant to be consumed really within the year that it's made. So the best Prosecco, if you're in Venice or Milan, you want to drink a Prosecco, that's well known because you know that the bottle hasn't been sitting around for a long time. Once it loses its freshness, and everybody can kind of pick up their glass of Mianetto right now. It's the first wine that we're tasting. Smell it. This is should smell like kind of fresh peaches, just very floral, white fruits, no oak. Really a very simple kind of aroma to the nose. And when Leah and I were just talking about Prosecco a moment ago, Prosecco has become very popular because, number one, it's not very expensive, maybe about $15 a bottle. My wife, who's not going to join me tonight because I'm working, she not drinking. She says that Prosecco is kind of like getting her nails done. She can do it anytime she wants without me being there. So it's just a nice, affordable luxury for herself, and she can enjoy a glass of Prosecco, of course, with friends. We're going to drink lots of Prosecco with family because, again, it's not something that we're going to have to worry so much about the cost. And the flavor profile of Prosecco is accessible to everybody. Nobody really needs to be an expert in wine or an expert in sparkling wine to enjoy it. So we smelled it, we looked at it, we'll see that the bubbles are very small. Again, that's one of the quality attributes of a good sparkling wine or a good Prosecco is the bubbles need to be kind of pinpricks. You don't want these big club soda-like bubbles in your wine because that will just make the wine taste kind of like soda. You don't really want it to be like a carbonated or an alcohol seltzer type of drink. It needs to still be a little bit sophisticated. And then when you taste it, thing that you'll notice about Prosecco is that it's dry. Sometimes people will confuse Prosecco with the other Italian sparkling wines like Asti Spumante. Asti Spumante is a great sparkling wine from Piedmont, made from the Moscato grape. Prosecco, as I said before, is made from the Glera grape in a different region in the Veneto, and it's always going to be dry. However, Mianetto is the driest Prosecco you can buy. On the label, and I'll show you, I think, the bottle of Mianetto. Mianetto says on the label that it's Prosecco, which is the other region, and then it says Brut, which just means that it's a dry sparkling wine. On the back label, it also will tell you if you're interested in geeky things like that it's vegan. Has the little kite mark on the back to show you that the Mianetto wine is also vegan. And you think, why wouldn't it be vegan? When wines are made, they're naturally cloudy because they're made with yeast to prevent or to create carbon dioxide and alcohol. Those are the two byproducts of fermentation. And when the yeast is done making carbon dioxide and alcohol, it just forms a sediment in the bottle. And sometimes wineries will use egg whites to fine or clarify the wine. We don't use egg whites to do that, to clarify. So we can call the Mianetto Prosecco vegan. Any questions or any comments about the Mianetto? Cindy, do you want to talk about?
I do. I have a question for you, Doug. Am I right in thinking that Prosecco is a good wine for champagne, for sparkling wine cocktails like mimosas and bellinis and things like that?
Yeah, probably the best because very expensive champagne cocktails like the Kir Royale, Imperial Kir Royale, those were made with champagne, Chambord. They would now cost us maybe $10 to $15 in our house to make a champagne cocktail like that, or a French 76. if we're making mimosas for, friends and family at brunch, we don't want to like have to count the cost of using real champagne for those, and then weddings, very often the mimosa or the toast is made with the cheapest possible sparkling wine, which everybody will lift a glass and then put it back down again because it doesn't taste very good. Prosecco kind of splits the difference. A glass of Mianetto costs us, when we're drinking in our home, about maybe $2 a glass, maybe $3 a glass, that type of. So we can certainly, add a little bit of orange juice to that, or maybe add a little bit of pear juice. If you want to add some peach juice to it, you've made yourself a Bellini, which is very famous, going back to the days of Ernest Hemingway and John Dos Passos and Lawrence Ferlinghetti at Harry's Bar in Venice. So there are some great cocktails that that are made with Prosecco as the base, and I think that the most popular cocktail that you can make right now, which is on fire, is the Aperol Spritz. Aperol made with blood orange and rhubarb and ginger and a little bit of herbs. It's I've got a bottle in the refrigerator if you would like for me to show you. It is Italian, and a small amount of the Aperol in a glass on ice, topped with Prosecco and a little bit of soda, is a very, very light cocktail, which which is slightly bitter, slightly sweet, and very refreshing.
Doug, we did an Aperol Spritz in the summer cocktail wine pairing event. And
you guys are experts.
And I was sucking them down, let me tell you, because they're really, really good. So
really good.
So yeah. Okay, let's do a book pairing. Interesting. Hold on. What is it doing? Oh, darn. Hold on a second. I have a brand new computer. Leah, help. I have a brand new computer.
What's the matter?
It brought me to security and privacy for giving Zoom permission.
Yep. So give it permission.
I know I'm trying to, but it's not.
Do you have the presentation somewhere you can send it to me and I will do it?
Yes, but I'm annoyed. Bear with, hold on.
I'll cut this part out of the video.
Seems like we're always bearing with.
I know.
It's all good. People are drinking. They don't care.
Give them time to catch up.
Christina.
Sorry, guys. This has become so old hat that I didn't even think about it. But the new computer has caused some. Leah, I'm sending it from 2 different places.
Okay.
Which one gets to you first?
I think I already got it.
Okay.
Yep, I got it.
It's just a Word document with 6 different pages.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the first book, and it is called Antipoldi and the Sicilian Lions by Mario Giordano. And if you look, you'll see in the bottom right of the book cover an appropriate glass. This is the first book in what is now a 4-book and probably counting mystery series. Antipoldi is a woman of mature years, although I don't think that mature because she's only 60. And on her 60th birthday, she decides to retire to Sicily to just have as much Prosecco as she can because she loves Prosecco, and sit by the sea and have some visitors from time to time and have a quiet life. And what happens in this book, and of course in every single one, is that there's a murder, and Auntie Polly can't help herself but starting to ask questions. And of course, the police inspector is a very, very good looking man. And she winds up getting involved with him and with solving the crimes. But so if you want that kind of, I would call this probably a cozy mystery, in the cozy mystery genre. But she's a fire pistol. She's very, very smart. She can suss out when someone is not telling the truth, and she loves her Prosecco. So what's not to like? So that's the first book pairing.
It's funny because I don't think that, I don't remember any of Agatha Christie's protagonists hooking up with anybody in her books. No, these are more modern, Doug. Very cool. That's great. That's
much more modern.
Well, again, the thing about Prosecco is that it's really social currency. It's the one the Italians don't agree on very much, particularly like the Mezzogiorno and people from the north. They're like very different countries. It's we often forget that Italy is a very, very young country. Yes, it has ancient history, but as a nation, it's very, very young with very different and disparate languages, and dialects. Prosecco is a great unifier because from north to south, everybody can agree on a couple things. They can agree on what good coffee is. They can agree on what good Prosecco is. They can agree on what good gelato is. After that, they're not going to agree on very much. They certainly don't agree on politics. Pasta is in the south, meats are in the north. It's a very interesting country from that angle. But Prosecco is the great unifier. Any questions about that? If anybody, by the way, finds themselves in Venice, Mianetto, which we've been making since 1887, is about a 2-hour drive north of Venice. It's a great day out. It's in the foothills of the Alps. You would go to the town of Valdobbiadene, which is, in fact, tonight, if you can't say Valdobbiadene 3 times fast, maybe you should stop drinking and cork the bottle and carry on tomorrow. Valdobbiadene is a beautiful town, and the Prosecco Hills are wonderful to visit. The grapes are all hand harvested. So for a wine of this quality, the price, at $15 a bottle, to maybe $20 a bottle for the very best, Prosecco is something that's worth seeking out. Also, just note, if you're looking for stocking stuffers, little 187 bottles are wonderful for Wednesday nights if you just want a glass, and then also kind of large format bottles, which are always festive, are great because you open up a Magnum, which is 1.5 liters, that serves about 10 people. So these Prosecco comes in these various formats that make them great crowd pleasers. On to the next wine, shall we? Now, the wine that is number 2 is different to the Mianetto in that this comes from Germany. This is Henkel. Henkel dates back to 1857. It's one of the oldest German wine producers. It's made in Wiesbaden in Germany. And if you have the bottle of Henkel Trocken, the Piccolo, the little bottle, you can just open it up. Doesn't have a cork in it. It has a screw cap, which makes it very, very convenient. I'm going to pour from the larger bottle because my daughter is flying in from San Diego tomorrow, so I'm going to put corks in this later, and then we'll drink them tomorrow. By the way, you don't necessarily need to have a champagne stopper, to save these bottles for 24 hours. the pressure in a bottle of Prosecco or a bottle of Henkel is about the same amount of pressure that you would have in a tire of a truck or a bus. So if you drink half the bottle and put it into the fridge, with maybe a silver spoon, I don't know why that is, but it does seem to work in the bottle, it'll stay fizzy for up to 24 hours. You don't have to go do any heroic measures to to store the bottle so that that it stays fizzy. So I'm just going to finish my Prosecco. Pour a little bit of the Henkel. Now Henkel is made from Chardonnay, the same grape that is made that goes in to make champagne. So when you smell this, it'll have a kind of a toasty brioche kind of aroma to it in the nose, but also kind of a light lemon meringue, kind of a creaminess, to it as well, because it's a blend of different grape varieties, like German grape varieties like Müller-Thurgau, Sylvaner, and these are great grapes for blending. Produces a wine which is very cleansing, also a brut style, which means that it's very, very dry. Again, Henkel is a great crowd pleaser, and there's only really, whereas there may be 70 or 80 Proseccos to choose from, there's really only a few German sparkling wines out there. Henkel is the #1 selling German sparkling wine in the US, in Canada, of course, in Europe, Australia, New Zealand. It's not expensive. It's less expensive than the Prosecco, around $12 a bottle. And it comes in little 3-packs as well. So the 187s comes in little stocking stuffer 3-packs that again are perfect for if you just want to have a glass, don't want to open up a whole bottle. The 187s are perfect. You'll note that I'm drinking these sparkling wines out of white wine flute. I got into a little bit of trouble a couple months ago. I was laying out a tasting for 45 people at a restaurant with champagne flutes, and my boss came in, who's Italian, and he goes, "Take them all away." He goes, "We don't use champagne flutes anymore. We're drinking all of our sparkling wines now in these white wine glasses." And in fact, I asked around, and the Soms in New York, sommeliers in Paris and London have all kind of ditched the the fluted. Doesn't mean you have to throw away your fluted stemware, but it's very, very difficult to get the aroma out of a long, tall glass. They look elegant, and that's probably what they were designed for. But if you really want to get the aromas out of a glass of wine, champagne, sparkling wine, they are wines. And at least for me, part of, a major part of the hedonic pleasure of drinking wine is the nose. It's nice to be able to drink out of these white wine glasses, not the big red wine glasses, but something with a little bit of a bowl so you can do a little bit of a swirling and sniffing action. Cindy?
Yeah. So I could not, I confess, I did try to find a German sparkling wine, something. And I didn't try for an hour, but I did try a little bit of different ways, and I decided to abandon that in favor of something that sort of captured the essence of the Henkel, which is just something soft and happy and warming and not too demanding. I get asked all the time for books that are feel-good books, but that are still good reads, not something that's just an airplane book that you wouldn't want to stick with. And so for this pairing, I picked The Rosie Project by Graham Simpson. I loved this book, and he's written 2 sequels, which I don't think he originally intended when he set out to write this book. The hero of The Rosie Project is a guy named Don Tillman, who is brilliant, but socially challenged. If you watched The Big Bang Theory, think a little bit like Sheldon Cooper. who decides that he really wants to find a wife. And so he creates the Wife Project, and actually puts together a 16-page survey of all of the things that would make for a perfect partner for him. And you can just imagine how that's going over. And in the meantime, he meets this woman who is completely wrong in terms of the survey. He doesn't meet her in a romantic sense at all, named Rosie, who is trying to find her biological father. And he decides he's going to help her. So he creates the Father Project for Rosie, and the two of them wind up working together on both projects. And you can guess what happens. It is a very, very charming book. It became a worldwide bestseller. Simpson is from Australia, and he followed up with 2 additional books about Don and Rosie's relationship. But it's the sort of happy, bubbly thing you might find as a good companion to a glass of Henkel.
Fantastic. That's great. Now, I went slightly out of order for this reason. I want everybody to taste, if they have the Prosecco Rose as the third wine. Why? Because the first 2 were both white wines, and it's nice to be able to compare and contrast. The Prosecco is the lightest of the 2 for sparkling wines. The Henkel has a little bit more kind of weight, that toastiness. Gives it a little bit more weight, a little bit more. It's a wine that you can even drink with, kind of roast chicken or, chicken sandwiches or things like that. Coming on to the Prosecco Rosé. This is a wine which is not made from white grapes. Well, it is. It's 85% Glera, the Prosecco grape, but it's also made with red grapes. It's 15% Pinot Noir. So this has a little bit more of a kind of a strawberry shortcake kind of aroma to it in the nose. It's also a little bit, I'm not going to say sweeter, because it has about 14 grams of residual sugar. The Prosecco has about 12 grams. So you're not going to taste it as being sweeter, but it's going to present itself in a more kind of fruity way. So I thought that this would probably be better tasted after the Henkel, and we'll go ahead and pour that. Has a beautiful kind of mousse to it. That's what we call the bubbles in the trade. There's kind of like a little mousse, champagne mousse, or the bubbles, and then they dissipate slightly. But again, very, very fine. Bubbles. Bubbles, obviously make it into a sparkling wine, but it also gives a texture, to the wine that still wines don't have. Why is champagne and sparkling wines used as aperitivos or aperitifs? Why are they good in cocktails? Is because it has that architecture. It lifts juices. It can lift your palate, and also it has the acidity, which makes the mouth water. So if you're drinking this as your first glass of the wine of the day, you're drinking this before a meal, it kind of gets the gastric juices going, and begins the process of your body anticipating the food that's going to come.
Doug?
Yep.
This is Karen. I mean, we switched to the white wine glass per your recommendation, and I love the nose that it functions well. But I noticed that the bubbles don't seem to last as long in the white glass that it does in the flute. Is that my imagination, or?
No, it's not. It's not. There's also, the diameter of the glass, will, force the bubbles up,
Okay.
narrow, openings. It will also give the appearance that there are more bubbles, but in a wider glass, the bubbles are still there, but it'll, be a little bit lazier because there's more surface area. The other technical thing to be aware of, particularly if you're kind of hosting a dinner party and you want to ensure that the bubbles are going to be there, as is sometimes there's I'm not saying this, Karen, in your case, I'm not casting any dispersions, but In our house, I'll always go through and make sure I wipe the glasses, with I steam the glasses and I wipe the glasses down to take away any soap residue.
Yeah.
Some residue actually, which you get from just washing glasses, that looks clean,
Yeah.
sounds clean. You don't taste any residue, but any type of soap residue will kill, the bubbles kind of straight.
Okay.
So, but you're right. The bubbles will be a little bit more lazy in a white wine glass, but when you take a sip of it, you'll feel the prickle on your tongue. It'll still be effervescent. The bubbles are still there. It's just that they're kind of stretching out a little bit.
Okay, thank you, Doug.
So the Prosecco Rose. Prosecco Rose is a brand new category of wine. It has only just been sanctioned by the Italian government since January of this year. Wall Street Journal, Letty Teague, who writes the column on champagne and sparkling wines, tasted 20 or so Prosecco Rosés, and Mianetto Prosecco Rosé was, I'm happy to say, in her top 5. Again, the color is very pale. It's almost onion skin like, or what the French would call oeil de pedrex, eye of the partridge. It's I've never really understood that term, eye of the partridge, because I've never looked a partridge eye to eye before. But that kind of it's a phrase that they use to describe this very pale pink color. And in rosé circles, if you're a rosé drinker, you seem to tend to prize a very pale rosé over a very dark rosé. Then on the nose, again, freshness is the most important thing with all Proseccos. Mianetto bottles its Prosecco to order. We're the only Prosecco producer to do that. When a wine gets made, we're making the wine right now for 2021. All of the 2021 Prosecco is in a tank. We're going to bottle that probably next month, and then hold most of the wine back into 2022 when we get orders from our distributors in the state, and then we will bottle, because when we bottle, we will ship, and then when we ship, you'll purchase a bottle, and the wine will be as fresh as it possibly can be. So this bottle here was bottled in March of this year. So in effect, it's only about 9 months old, which is great. That freshness is apparent on the nose, on the palate. We don't really talk about the length of flavor or the complexity. We don't get all geeky about Prosecco because it's a very simple wine. We don't have to really bore people about it so much. Cindy, over to you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, we're back in Italy because we're back to Prosecco. This is a wedding in Italy. Why not? Right? As Doug said, you would pour Prosecco at a wedding and people would like it. And I think rosé at a wedding is particularly nice. And you can see the sort of blush flowers on the cover. This is the second book in a 2-book series called From Rome with Love. The first book is called Rome is Where the Heart Is. And it is about a woman named Kate who is dumped by her husband on Friday the 13th and gets on a plane and goes to Rome to drown her sorrows in pasta and Prosecco. And who does she meet but I can't make this up, a sexy policeman named Alessandro, naturally. And they fall in love. But Alessandro has 5 sisters and a beautiful ex-girlfriend and a stereotypical overbearing Italian mama. I don't know if we have any Italians. If Barbara Cangiano were on this call, she'd be right on this, but we probably have some Italians on this Zoom call who can chime in, but it doesn't run smooth, let's put it this way. But in book 2, A Wedding in Italy, Kate and Alessandro are planning their wedding, which includes a lot of Prosecco, but nevertheless, there is continued to be a fighting. The women in Alessandro's life do not want him to marry British Kate. They want him, no resemblance to Kate Middleton, I might add. They want him to marry someone Italian. And so there is more scheming afoot, but lots and lots of Prosecco. So that is the book pairing for, by the way, I didn't pick any books that weren't in the library catalog, just in case any of these sound appealing to you. We have them all. Anyway, that's the book pairing for that.
Super. That's great. I can't wait. And are these at the library? Can you also download these books to listen to, or are they
some of them? Depends on the book. We have some we have physical copies of, some we have physical audio book copies of, right? The CDs. Some we have electronic copies of, some we have electronic audio books, some we have all of the above, some we have some of the above.
No, I think it's great. And the only reason why I asked that is because I got into a lot of trouble once. Well, I get into a lot of trouble occasionally, just to keep sharp. But my wife is a big reader, and she I once said to her, she reads, and my son as well, listen to books on audio, and they've and I said, well, it's not really reading, and she said to me, how many books have you read this year? And I was just like, 4. And like I was like, she had read about 20. And so she always reminds me, and I can't even ask her now. I said, what are you reading? She goes, oh, it's not really reading.
That's spousal. That sounds pretty spousal to me.
So it is reading, and I think it's great, and I
actually, Doug, that there if you Google that, there's a lot of debate. You didn't say anything that other people don't think.
It's just that
I'm sort of to each his own. Whatever gets you through the book, I don't care. But there are a lot of people who think listening to a book is a very different experience from reading. And it is, and I'm not saying that it is an experience, but I think that if the story is conveyed and and it brings you to another place, it takes you outside of yourself. It really is that is the experience. And I just happen to love, and my wife will say, you just love the idea of reading. you like walking through libraries, and going into bookstores, you like holding books, and you're the type of guy that will buy a book and he'll put it down and and you won't read it. And she's and there's a real sense of, I love how tactile, I love how books smell, and that's me. But my daughter, when she was at college, she would speed up the text, or she would speed up the book so that she could listen to it at at twice the speed. And I what are you doing? It's like, and I was like, how is that fun? She goes, this is not fun. This is economic. Okay, I got it. I get it. Just graduate. Tom put in the chat, what about watching the movie instead of reading the book? And I've answered that question on behalf of everyone, which is no. Nice try, but no.
Well, so often they say the book is better, right?
Most of the time, not all of the time, but most of the time, the book is better.
Right.
Can I say that the one obvious exception, Dr. No, but that's okay. That's one exception.
No. It's the Ian Fleming books. I've read most of them, and in fact, the only fragrance that I use, is from Casino Royale. You can't smell it, but I'm wearing Imperial, Guerlain Imperial, which James Bond slaps on after he takes an ice cold shower and goes out to beat the baddies.
There you go.
That's right.
So you never know what you're going to talk about at these events. You just never know what's going to come up.
That's right. So we're into Spain now.
Okay, Spain, great, Spain.
Which is And so, we're going to be tasting, and again, I've got the big bottle here, of the Segura Viudis. Segura Viudis is an estate in the Penedeth, around the area around Barcelona, hillsides, made from 3 grapes, but it's more similar to the Champagne because of the production method. So Champagne, as I said before, is made in the bottle. What do I mean by that? The second fermentation, or the alcoholic and the carbonization happens in the bottle. That happens the same in Cava. It doesn't happen in Prosecco. Prosecco, the second fermentation is in a big tank. They decant it into the bottle, helps keep the costs low. And the reason why they do that is because the wine needs to be fresh, needs to be drunk within a year. Cava Champagne can be drunk over a period of 3 years. In fact, the Cava Segura, all the Cavas, Freixenet being the #1 Cava in the world, needs at least 2 years in tank, and then a further 6 months in the bottle before it's going to be released, before it can be drunk. And that's because the wine has high acidity. It needs to come together so that it tastes good. We don't want to taste a wine that's too acidic, turns your mouth inside out. It needs to be harmonious. So Champagne, when you come on to Laurent Perrier, that needs at least 3 years in the bottle before it can be released. So Champagne in that method is, it takes a long time to make it. It increases the cost of production, but it should also increase the complexity. So my tasting notes on this, when you smell this, and I'll just pour myself a little bit of this right now. The smell, it's white fruits, very fresh, citrus, tropical fruit, light floral kind of aromas on the nose. So very pleasant. In fact, Cava is almost interchangeable from Prosecco in terms of the cost. The Cava Segura Viudis, about $10 to $12 a bottle, so only $2 difference, $3 difference from Prosecco. Just a different style of sparkling wine. One's Spanish, one's Italian. Prosecco is a little bit fresher, a little bit lighter. Cava is a little bit more serious. If you've ever been to Spain, the Iberian Peninsula, just a little bit not as laid back as they are, in Italy. On the palate, again, you get the feeling of the bubbles, very, very small, creamy bubbles, on the palate, good acidity, which you only taste acidity on the sides of your tongue. This kind of makes the mouth water. You taste sweetness on the tip of your tongue. There's no evidence of any sweetness on the tip of your tongue, but I get a little bit of pineapple, but also a very dry, finish on the back of the mouth. Segura Viudis, Karen McNeil, who writes the Wine Bible. I'm sure you have the Wine Bible someplace in the library. Karen McNeil writes the Wine Bible. She called Segura Viudis the Earth Mother of Spanish sparkling wines. And it's just, they just respect the roots there at Segura. It's an old estate, goes back to the 11th century, but they've only been making wine at Segura Viudis since 1959. So kind of an old property that has just kind of recently in the last century, started to produce and now is the #2 sparkling wine, or the #2 cava from Spain. It's also a brut style. In fact, all 3 of these wines here are brut styles: Minedo Brut, Segura Viudis Brut, Henkel Brut. And why are we all tasting brut? Because really 95% of our friends and family are going to want us to serve them a slightly drier style of sparkling wine. Cindy.
Okay, so for the cava, which I love as an aperitif kind of sparkling wine, I picked a sort of a classic rom-com plot setting. This is a book called The Honeymooners by Christina Lauren. The premise of this one, which you could finish the story once I tell you the premise. Olive is a twin with her sister who is getting married. Her sister Amy is getting married. Olive loves her sister. Olive is maid of honor at the wedding, and hates the best man, the groom's best friend, Ethan. As luck would have it, at the picture perfect wedding, everyone except Olive and Ethan get food poisoning. And Olive and Ethan are sent off on the honeymoon together because it's paid for, and the bride and the groom can't go because they're too sick. Kate is clapping. Can you just imagine? That is a premise that could only exist in a book like this. And Olive is like, I hate him, but it's a free, incredible trip. And what could be bad? And I'm just going to suffer through it and have an amazing vacation. And of course, you can guess what happens between Olive and Ethan. But in any event, this is perfect fare for Kava. You could sip it and rip through this book and be very, very happy if you're so inclined.
Is this set in Spain, Cindy, or is it?
I wish. I couldn't quite pull that off, Doug. I liked the premise of the book too much for the type. It actually, the honeymoon is in Hawaii.
That's all right. That's okay.
But you could imagine a honeymoon in Spain, right? It wouldn't be a reach to say you were going to Spain. And I was leaving that out, Doug, so that people could just assume that I really pulled off that book pairing perfectly, but that's okay.
No, it's good. No, I think you kind of nail the zeitgeist of it. It's Barcelona is probably the most fun town in Europe. I mean, people are again, the Catalan nation, or has its own identity from the rest of Spain. Really kooky architecture. Just wonderful, place to play. It's also very friendly to Americans. I mean, one of the things that Americans who are going abroad, that sometimes get a frosty reception in some of the great capitals of Europe. Not so in Barcelona. Again, you'll be eating out. You can't get an early night's sleep in Barcelona. You're going to go out and have dinner at 10 o'clock at night. You'll go to sleep at 2 in the morning. You'll probably have a winery tour that I'll set up for you at 9 in the morning, and then again tapas at 9:30 and a glass of cava. So it's a great place to visit, and certainly some place that that you'll find some romance.
Yes, and I echo the plug for Barcelona. When we can travel again, I highly recommend it, and you will drink a lot of cava while you're there. I want to point out that Leah put in the chat, we of course own the Wine Bible. She's put a link in the chat to the catalog entry. It's available as a physical book and as an ebook with no wait. So you could be flipping through it while you're drinking if you wanted extra credit as we go through the last two.
No, it's great. So on to the last two. I really can't speak to Laurent Perrier. I've not visited the winery. Brenda, do you want to chime in and tell us a little bit about Laurent Perrier, very good champagne house?
Hello. Yeah, I'm back. So Laurent Perrier, as Doug spoke earlier about the champagne method, this is traditional, true French champagne. It goes through its first fermentation in either the tank or the cask, and then the second fermentation takes place in the bottle, where they introduce a mixture of sugar and yeast. And their process takes between 3 and 4 years. which explains why there's a champagne shortage, because champagne is not something that they can rush. So the Laurent is one of those. A lot of French champagnes have either Chardonnay or Pinot Noir or both. This champagne is predominantly Chardonnay, about 50% Chardonnay, about 35% Pinot Noir. And then they mix in a grape, which I'm probably going to mangle the name, but it's called Meunier. Doug?
Pinot Meunier.
Thank you so much. See, I need an expert.
It means the miller, because it has
wonderful.
the underside of the leaf has a powdery, it's a yeast, and it looks like a flour.
Wonderful. So they say that they introduced this grape to kind of round out the champagne. So hello, Richard. So we're talking about the Laurent champagne. Richard, do you have anything that you want to say about it? You're muted. You need to unmute.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, this is
So-
Richard from Slocum & Sons. He's the
Yep.
man I purchased these sparkling wines from.
So a couple of interesting notes about Laurent Perrier. It's into their 5th generation. They were founded in 1812. It's now run by 2 sisters. So it's fully female owned and operated, still fully in the family. They're not owned by a conglomerate like some of the other champagne houses that I represent. They've only had 3 chef de cabs, which is a big deal since the mid-20s, which is head winemakers. And they work with fewer single vintage wines than anyone else. They believe in more of a consistent house style. And they don't age any of their wines in oak whatsoever. So, and they were really one of the first to really start working with rosé. I mean, Clicquot's been working with it for a long time. They weren't too many years behind Veuve Clicquot. And that's when, and they were working with non-vintage rosé when everyone thought that they were out of their mind for doing so. Another thing, in the 50s, they started aging their wines in tank, when again, that was not the norm for the Champagne region. So those just a few little fun facts about Laurent Perrier. There's plenty of others, but and we have good availability on Laurent Perrier for now.
For now.
So
Which is a bottle of Laurent Perrier these days, Richard?
what's that?
Or Brenda, what is the price of
I can tell you that the small bottles, the 187 mLs, are at our store, and we tend to have our prices very reasonable. Just the 187 ml is $15. So those
affordable luxury?
Yeah, exactly. I can't remember offhand what the 750 mLs are, but I do have some of those in the store. In fact, they're part of a gift set, so they come with two nice glasses as well.
Very nice too. That's great.
Yeah. So I think, Cindy, do you have a book to go with this?
Of course I do. Look at this. The Vineyards of Champagne by Juliette Blackwell. This one is set half in the present day and half during World War I, while the caves that are underneath the landscape of the Champagne region of France, which, as you might imagine, is very, very lush. That's where, during World War I, the women and the children hung out. Hung out is not probably the right way to put it, but that's, I mean, historically, that is actually where they hid from the German shell fire that was going on during World War I. Of course, the men were all at the front or otherwise involved in the war effort. And the premise of the book is a woman who is a widow works for a wine company in Napa, and she travels to Champagne to select some vintages to bring back to her employer. And she's very depressed. She's still grieving very much, and she stumbles onto these caves and she finds some lost letters that were sent back and forth during World War I. And she's captivated by them, and she starts to want to learn more about what went on in the area during the war and what the women got up to try to support the French cause. And so the book moves back and forth between what she's learning in the present day and what actually happened during the war. And it is set in the perfect region for this bottle that we're drinking right now. So that's pairing number 5.
That's fantastic. I mean, it's the First World War. The front line went right across the Monte Durans, and so in 1914, 15, 16 through to 1918, the vineyard, the harvests had to be brought in under shell fire, and it's incredible to think of that's the case. But all around the Champagne area is dotted with cemeteries of British, American, French, of course, soldiers, of course, German soldiers as well. My cousin Fred Demler was killed in 1918 not in Champagne, but up in the Somme Valley. Just if you ever get a chance to visit the area, of course, the gastronomy is wonderful. You're in France. It's wonderful, beautiful vineyards, but you forget that it was the front line of the First World War. So I'm going to read that book. I can't wait to can't wait. So I thank you very much for flagging that up. That's going to be on my reading list. I'm going to actually come to the library and get a if I've got a Madison library.
It works everywhere.
Okay, great. Perfect. I'm coming up this week to get that book. Great. So the last wine is the Bolo Genie. The Bolo Genie. Any questions about Champagne or anything like that before we go on? Champagne's very serious. Lots of books on Champagne. Wonderful subject.
So a quick question. Not being a connoisseur, for me, it's a stretch to go from a $20 bottle of champagne to a $50 bottle of champagne. After $50, is it really worth it as far as that much more that you will be paying, besides having a special occasion that you really want to open that bottle for?
That's an excellent question. Richard, do you want to take that question? I mean, I've got a view on it.
We lost Richard.
So, in fact, there are occasions, and
he's back.
Yeah, Richard, do you want to take a crack at, is it worth spending $20 more on a bottle of champagne versus, maybe a California sparkling wine made in a champagne style?
So depending on what you're going to use it for is my first response. Are you going to mix with it? Are you going to, mix it with orange juice or cassis or make it into a cocktail? How many people are you serving it to? What's your budget? I mean, the reason why you're spending more is some of the obvious things. Production, obviously, right, is one of the big things. The age of the vines, where it's coming from, how long the wine is aged. So is it worth it? I don't know that the ordinary person could discriminate that, to be truthful with you. So it takes kind of a lot of practice drinking and a trained palate to really be able to discriminate the difference between, let's say, a domestic sparkling and, champagne.
What I will say, that's a good answer, Richard. And what I would say, Tom, is this: they are very different wines, and to Richard's point, they are very different occasions.
Right.
You will know if you open up a bottle of champagne. I just bought for my niece a bottle of she was born in 2007, a bottle of 2007 champagne, which would probably cost about $150 on the shelf, but it will age for 15 to 20 years. So she will be able to drink it. And what will it taste like when she opens it up? It'll be very complex. It'll actually certainly take on secondary, tertiary qualities in the nose. It'll smell more like a wine than just the wines that we've been tasting, which have very primary aromas. It'll be complex. It'll smell like strawberry shortcakes and all sorts of really complex things that keep you going back to the glass for another smell. Of course, there's rarity. The wine as these wines be consumed, there's fewer and fewer bottles. So James Bond in his books, and the Ian Fleming books, he was drinking 1959 Dom Perignon.
Right.
The 1970s, there weren't any 1959 Dom Perignons left. So he went to drink. So the writers who took over from Fleming changed to Bollinger Grand Année, and they started drinking. But they were drinking that because those wines were heavier, richer, more complex wines that that deserve more of a conversation. And so yes, in short, if you opened up a bottle of Mianetto and you had a glass of that, or if you opened up a bottle of Bollinger Grand Année or Alfred Gratian vintage, you would certainly notice that there is a difference between those two wines. They're both sparkling, but they are two very, very distinct wines for very distinct occasions, and one needs to be drunk today, tomorrow, the next day. The other, lay down for an occasion, a super anniversary, or to give to your niece when she's 21.
So fascinating, great answer. Now I'm wondering what to do with a bottle of champagne for a grandson who was born in 2015. I can't wait to open it up on his 18th birthday.
Is it a vintage or is it a non-vintage?
No, I haven't gotten one. You got me planning on what to do for
Oh my
him
gosh,
now. I'm
yes,
sorry. I'm too late in the game.
We can certainly take this offline, but
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
I am. We are all here at your disposal to advise you on what you can help lay down for your. I think that's a great thing. So I laid down some wines for my children when they were born in 95, 97, and 2000. We just finished. My son turns 21. We're opening up a bottle of 2000 Alfred Gratian when he comes home from school. He's 21 on the 19th. It'll have a very lazy bubble to it. It'll have a kind of toasty brioche, kind of slightly caramelized aroma on the nose. It'll be a very lazy wine. It'll almost remind us of a white Burgundy, but it'll be certainly an occasion when we open up. Still be effervescent, but certainly time to drink it. Now, I want to just finish on the last wine, which is a bit of fun and a throwaway. It's the Lambrusco, the Bolo Genie, which means bubbles. Bolo Genie comes in cans. It's cans are cool right now because they're casual, and they come in 250 ml sizes. They're in 4-packs at Brenda's store. So the one thing I like about the Bolo Genie, the Lambrusco, is it's great with pizza. We don't make it anymore, so certainly go into the shop and buy the last 4-packs we have at at Brenda's store. It's a tasty, soft, red, sparkling wine that's semi-sweet, and I'm so sorry that we don't make it anymore. But Richard, you do make a great Lambrusco, don't you, that you might want to tell everybody about?
I think he left.
Well, I'll tell you, one of my favorite, the Bolo Genie. If you like the flavor of the Bolo Genie and you want to go to the next level, Brenda can tell you there's a Lambrusco called Chiarli, which comes from Emilia Romagna, which is wonderful. And the Lambrusco wines are generally semi-sweet to semi-dry. They're generally a frizzante style, which means they're not fully effervescent. They're wonderful food wines, wonderful party wines. Everybody loves, the fruitiness of Lambrusco. Great for Christmas drinking, and you can't go wrong with it.
I want to just say I'm a complete nut for Lambrusco. A lot of people have never seen sparkling red. You open up a bottle of Lambrusco and you start to pour it, and people freak out because they're not expecting something that deep and rich in the glass. It is. I do like it sweeter because it's the perfect sort of aperitif kind of wine, and it's so easy to drink. To my somewhat detriment, from time to time, it is really easy to drink and it's delicious. So I was so excited when Brenda put a Lambrusco in this kit, because I want more people to know. I have full bottles of Lambrusco in the house, and I also agree with Doug that it's a great holiday wine because people are coming over. It just seems a little bit more festive. It's something so unusual for a lot of people, and it just tastes great. You could almost have it if you go with a sweeter one as a dessert wine, instead of as an aperitif. But if you like, sweeter cocktails and Dubonnet and stuff like that, like I do, it's a great easy drinking.
And you can drink it on the rocks. I mean, if you pour it on ice, I mean, people are like, oh no, you can't pour wine on it. But Lambrusco, you can certainly pour it on the rocks and enjoy it that way as well. Do whatever you want with Lambrusco. It's there for you.
For those of you who don't like the idea of sweet, just on a note on the Chiarli Lambrusco, they do have the drier style. So it's sparkling red. It is Lambrusco, comes from Emilia Romagna, but it is in the drier style for those who don't like the sweeter styles.
And Doug, I see Tom saw your note and is writing it down.
That's good. No, I just wanted to give him a 2015 wine. In England, where my children were born, you could buy wines and lay them down, and as they appreciated in value, you could sell them, and they wouldn't gain. You didn't have to pay capital gains taxes on those wines, and they can actually appreciate very significantly as they get old. So for people who are wanting to invest, they've got all of the boxes checked, and they're looking for alternative investments, and they can't drink Bitcoin. They might want to put some money into some fine and rare wine. Maybe 1% of their estate can be in jewelry, 1% in fine wines, things like that. It's totally acceptable, and you can drink it. This has been fantastic. I think that's been our time. And
I want to I have to show off the last pairing. Mary Ellen is right there with the pen, because this was my triumph. Look at that. Look at that.
Oh, yes.
I mean, a novel called, thank you. This was hard work. A novel called Lambrusco by Alan Cooney. This one, of course, is set in World War II because we did World War I. So now we have to do World War II. We're back in Italy. The Nazis have invaded. It's 1943, and the Americans have landed. The main character in the novel, Lucia Fantini, is an opera singer, and she entertains customers in a very famous restaurant on the coast, and the Nazis have taken over the restaurant and the waiters have joined the resistance. And the book is about the drama of that and what happens. But I was just beside myself that the book was called Lambrusco. It could have been about warthogs and I would have used it for the final pairing, but it's appropriate and an appropriate note for our last book pairing.
Well, put it, I want to pick that one up tomorrow. as
Okay.
we think
Okay.
through. That'd be great. This has been such fun. Thank you so much. I mean, it's what a wonderful opportunity to open up some wines, share, meet some new people, and I hope we can do this again. I just want to raise a glass, to Leah, to Brenda, to you, Cindy, and to everybody. Have a very happy holiday, Merry Christmas, New Year, Chin
My
Chin.
bottle's empty, but cheers.
Sante.
Cheers, everyone.
Excellent.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Happy
Thank
holidays.
you.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wonderful program.
Enjoy. Drink responsibly. No, don't.
No, we're at home. We're home.
And enjoy, and let us know what you think.
Happy ongoing holidays to everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So for now.
Bye.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Doug.